LA's newest soul food restaurant is getting spectacular reviews. Great place with amazing food. The Sunday champagne brunch is fabulous. I saw the place on IG. We tried it for lunch. We were blown away by the food and the service. The restaurant has an inviting atmosphere and a dynamic vibe. Over the years, Lionel has catered most major Black events in Los Angeles, including all of our KBLA Talk 1580 gatherings. But now he has his own spot, Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine, and you need to check it out at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles. Oxtails, baked or fried chicken, meatloaf, turkey chops, pork chops, catfish, short ribs, and all the fixins. Collard greens, mac and cheese, yams, red beans, black-eyed peas, and more. And of course, hot water cornbread, satisfying drinks, and delicious desserts. Lionel's is a great place for brunch, lunch, or dinner. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you, because we've got your black. So head on over to Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles and tell Lionel you heard about it on KBLA Talk 1580.
We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was so good like this where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God and time, my best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and chief White House correspondent. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way, you will never, ever, 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 ever miss an episode. Now, listen, the clock is ticking, and you are invited. Our KBLA Talk 1580 4th anniversary. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 years and counting. Our 4th anniversary events are fast approaching, and seating at all 4 of our special events is getting tight. And so if you haven't already, register at our KBLA1580.com website. If not, let me just encourage you to stop what you're doing right now and go ahead and do it. Get it done so you don't get left out. It's our 4th anniversary, and we want to celebrate it with you. So if you're planning to join our 4th anniversary celebration and barbecue on Juneteenth, that's right, we're going to be out there on the Juneteenth holiday. We're asking everyone to bring a food gift card of any amount for the victims of the Altadena fire, grocery store chain or restaurant. We ain't being picky. We're grateful for whatever you bring to help families that are still displaced by the wildfires. So go to our KBLA1580.com website right now. Go ahead. You can go to the website and listen to us at the same time and sign up for the events that you plan to attend. All of our anniversary events are free, but seating is limited. So remember, you got to register. Thank you in advance for getting it done. Now, it's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. It's time for our national news roundup. Kicking us off, The Guardian is reporting that Linda McMahon is unsure if teaching Black history flouts Trump's anti-DEI policy. Let me explain. Linda McMahon, the U.S. Education Secretary, said today that she was unsure if teaching students about two of the most notorious racist episodes in U.S. history would fall foul of the Trump administration's onslaught against diversity, equity, and inclusion. Testifying before the House of Representatives Education and Workforce Subcommittee, McMahon appeared uncertain of her facts when confronted by Summer Lee, a Democratic representative from Pennsylvania. Lee asked her about the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre and Ruby Bridges. We all know Ruby Bridges, a civil rights worker who was a 6-year-old, who as a 6-year-old braved a screaming mob to become the first Black child to attend a previously all-white school. The exchange, it occurred after Representative Lee asked her if teaching an African-American history course would breach the administration's anti-DEI policy. You know what she said? She said, quote, "I do not think that African studies or Middle East studies or Chinese studies are a part of DEI if they are taught as a part of a total history package." So that if you're giving the facts on both sides, of course they're not DEI. Of course they're not. Representative Lee said that she was unsure what both sides of Black history course would be, and raised the question about Tulsa and Bridges, prompting McMahon to respond that she would, quotes, look into them. That in turn led to Representative Lee asking, do you know what the Tulsa Race Massacre is? In which case, U.S. Education Secretary Linda McMahon replied, quotes, "I'd like to look into it more." The Tulsa episode is widely seen as the single worst outbreak of racial violence in American history, when an attack of the city's Black community led to the destruction of more than 1,000 homes and businesses, and deaths of between 50 and 300 people, according to various estimates. The attack happened during a period of racial tensions marked by the growth of the Ku Klux Klan. That's your U.S. Secretary of Education. Moving along, Karine Jean-Pierre, the former White House press secretary, making a big splash. I don't know about your group chats, but my group chat from coast to coast was pinging throughout the day with news of Karine Jean-Pierre's new book. But Politico is reporting that Karine Jean-Pierre, although she's leaving the Democratic Party, her former White House colleagues, they have some thoughts. Of course, Karine Jean-Pierre's announcement that she's leaving the Democratic Party, timed with the rollout of a new book, has detonated long simmering grievances among her former White House colleagues about Jean-Pierre's pursuit of celebrity and personal media exposure while serving as the president's press secretary. This is what Politico's saying. They're saying the attention-grabbing ploy lit up Democratic and Biden alumni texting groups and reignited frustrations that burned for years about Jean-Pierre, according to 7 former Biden administration officials granted anonymity to describe private conversations. Wow, there's a lot of anonymity going around. One former official recalled Jean-Pierre had joked about becoming an independent even while on the job at the Biden White House, an off-key comment for some, ostensibly serving as a major messenger for the Democratic Party. Another former official said that Jean-Pierre had begun working during the Biden administration with a New York-based publicist and had copied that person on an official email. And so basically, one of her former colleagues is saying everyone thinks this is a grift. Why is it that it's a grift when Karine Jean-Pierre, like so many other White House press secretaries, is sharing her experience? She ain't saying everybody leave the Democratic Party and become independent. She's saying this is my story. This is what I'm doing. And her story is in response, as I understand it, to a number of people from across the country who stop her at airports and at the grocery store and, ask her to weigh in as somebody who was in a very highly visible role on what to do, how Democrats sort of find their way out of the wilderness in this moment. And so this book is her response to those questions. It's her response. And it's just very interesting to me that her former White House colleagues, they have thoughts, but they're thoughts off the record. They have thoughts, but just don't use my name in this article. Are they really thoughts? What's your intention? You mad? What you mad about? Of course, anyone and everyone, you're welcome to join us here on A More Perfect Union to talk about your experience at the Biden-Harris White House and any thoughts you have in terms of how Democrats and how the country sort of moves forward from this moment. But very interesting to me, that Politico article felt real hostile. And for no good reason. I started reading it. I thought, wow, this article could go so many different ways. And it didn't. And so Kareen's book comes out later this year. And we look forward to having her on this show to share her story with us. But when we come forward, I'm really looking forward to being in conversation with writer and director Nathan Hale Williams. He's director of a film called Come Together, Art's Power for Change. We're going to talk about his new film that's making a big splash at the American Black Film Festival. In fact, the 2025 American Black Film Festival just announced their official narrative and documentary feature lineup. And guess what? His movie, Come Together, is a part of that lineup. We'll talk with Nathan Hale Williams when we come forward. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Love you. Love you.
New Always Pocket Flex Foam will change the way you think about pads. Get full-size protection in a surprisingly tiny pack that fits right in your purse or pocket. Perfect for life on the go. With up to 0 leaks, 0 feel, and 0 bunching, you'll forget you're even wearing a pad. And Always Pocket Flex Foam is designed to adapt to your body, so you can move freely and confidently throughout your day. Experience the future of period protection with new Always Pocket Flex Foam. Pick up your pack today.
No, it's video.
We're with Bridget,
but you know,
whose husband won't be home for months,
so
and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home
I hear you.
to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Okay. All right.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's cal-cruise-news.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Just a programming note. And so writer, director Nathan Hale Williams is going to be joining us tomorrow on the show. But in this hour, we're going to hear from the director of Queen of the Ring, the second half of the show. And so don't go nowhere. Just stay right there. We've got a really fine Hollywood director for you to hear from today. But I just want to dig into a few more headlines just because I think they're just that interesting and that important. Just a moment ago, I was talking about former White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, whose book Independent is coming out in October. We're seeing in at least the Politico article that came out today, some anonymous White House staffers that I think they were sort of sniping at Karine Jean-Pierre and her decision to, leave the Democratic Party, become an independent. I'm sure there's so much more to that story. But one thing I know about Karine is that, she's fairly thoughtful about this stuff. And I'm sure she thought long and hard about this. She will be on the road at some point sharing her story. And you better believe she'll be right here sharing it with us. And so, let's wait to hear from the source. But President Trump not waiting at all. He's ordered an inquiry into Biden's actions as president over cognitive decline report. The Guardian is reporting that Donald Trump has ordered an investigation into his predecessor, Joe Biden's actions as president, alleging that his top aides masked the Democratic president's cognitive decline. Biden, of course, beat Trump during the 2020 election and dropped out of his reelection bid after a disastrous debate performance sparked concern about his age and mental acuity. But Biden's cognitive abilities during his presidency had been a Republican talking point for several years. But before, a number of media outlets, U.S. media outlets, in a recent book co-authored by Jake Tapper, CNN host, and Alex Thompson of Axios, have revealed that top Democrats and people in Biden's inner circle also had serious misgivings about his ability to do the duties of president. This is a developing story. I think the real question here is, what is our operational definition of cognitive decline? We throw these terms around, these clinical terms, we throw them around all nilly-willy, but what does that really mean, cognitive decline? There are a number of leaders, learners, and listeners that are caregiving for a parent, grandparent, relative that may be experiencing cognitive decline in the form of dementia, that may be experiencing cognitive decline in the form of Alzheimer's, right? And there's a battery of tests that people take in order for that diagnosis to be made. I have not seen any smoking gun. I have not seen any evidence, that suggests that President Biden was experiencing dementia or Alzheimer's, that he had a clinical diagnosis of that. And I think we've got to be very careful that, because we're all going to get old one day. We're all going to get old one day, and we may not walk the same. We may be a little slower in processing things. We may forget names, right? How much of that is just a part of aging, a part of getting older, a part of what life can be like when you get over the age of 80, as is the case for the former president, versus a weekend at Bernie's situation at the White House? Because a lot of the chatter inside and outside of the Beltway suggests that it was a weekend at Bernie's situation, that this president wasn't really governing, that somebody was operating the auto pen and they were signing executive orders and giving orders, and that he wasn't dialed in. And if that's the case, well, my goodness, what a job these folks have done over the course of 4 years in a city that talks a lot about a lot of things. The fact that that story didn't come out, you tell me that one journalist in the press briefing room was able to break that story in 4 years? It seems a bit far-fetched, you know? Now, did the president lose a step? Was he not as sharp as he was before? I think we all saw at least that much. But the question is really what amounts to cognitive decline? And until we all unite around an operational definition, until we all embrace what the clinical definition of that is, then we're playing a really terrible game here. Because again, we're all going to get old one day. Was he up for the job for a second term? That's a legitimate question. In which case, a lot of people say don't. And I can understand why. But to suggest that over the 4 years of his term that he wasn't really doing the job, that's a major accusation. And to have your successor now ordering an investigation of the former president and his top aides, we are in uncharted waters indeed. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, the director of the Queen of the Ring, when we come forward.
The audience is listening, thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A former Los Angeles County deputy will serve just 4 months instead of 10 years after Trump-aligned federal officials pushed a misdemeanor plea deal. Some community activists say that's not enough.
What happened in there was not justice. We want him out of law enforcement.
He was accused of using excessive force on a Black female shopper. Critics say Trump's pro-police stance influenced the outcome. Russell Simmons is suing HBO for $20 million, claiming the on-the-record documentary ignored evidence clearing him of sexual misconduct claims. He says over 20 witnesses and polygraph results were dismissed, and notes Oprah dropped out after raising concerns, though she later said he pressured her. And Black Democrat Derek Jackson of District 68 is running for governor. The Tyrone lawmaker, with 20 years in the military and a decade in corporate America, joins a growing Democratic field that includes Keisha Lance Bottoms. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Santa Monica, 10 eastbound delays from Cloverfield all the way to the 5. The 5 southbound in Burbank slows from Alameda all the way to the 605. Even northbound delays in Burbank slowing down away from Hollywood Way as you continue in stretches to the 14. And that 14 northbound slowing from the 5 all the way to Plaza Rita Canyon Road. I'm looking at Pasadena, 210 eastbound delays from Mountain all the way to Citrus. And in Irvine, the 5 northbound loading up at the 133 freeway, delays ahead to Harbor in Anaheim.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year and their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
If former Clippers star Paul George decides to watch the NBA Finals, he can say he was a major factor in the Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana Pacers playing for a championship. George was traded by OKC in 2019 to the Clippers for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and 5 first-round draft picks. OKC used 2 of those picks to select All-Star guard Jalen Williams and rookie guard Dylan Jones, a key player off the bench for OKC. In 2017, Indiana traded George to OKC for guard Victor Oladipo and center Domantas Sabonis. 2 years later, the Pacers used Sabonis in a trade with Sacramento to get Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton and Gilgeous-Alexander have their teams on the doorstep of an NBA championship. As for George, a 9-time All-Star, he's stuck with the Philadelphia 76ers team that is nowhere close to competing for an NBA title. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
LA's newest soul food restaurant is getting spectacular reviews. Great place with amazing food. The Sunday champagne brunch is fabulous. I saw the place on IG. We tried it for lunch. We were blown away by the food and the service. The restaurant has an inviting atmosphere and a dynamic vibe. Over the years, Lionel has catered most major Black events in Los Angeles, including all of our KBLA Talk 1580 gatherings. But now he has his own spot, Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine, and you need to check it out at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles. Oxtails, baked or fried chicken, meatloaf, turkey chops, pork chops, catfish, short ribs, and all the fixins. Collard greens, mac and cheese, yams, red beans, black-eyed peas, and more. And of course, hot water cornbread, satisfying drinks, and delicious desserts. Lionel's is a great place for brunch, lunch, or dinner. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you, because we've got your black. So head on over to Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles and tell Lionel you heard about it on KBLA Talk 1580.
JP Morgan Chase offers tips for the local business owners in 2025. Small business landscape is ever changing, and the Los Angeles market is no exception. A startup or legacy business, revisiting your mission statement and recalibrating offerings can renew opportunities for growth and innovations. Programs like Chase for Business Coaching for Impact gives entrepreneurs access to expert guidance, helping you streamline operations, strategize your growth, and navigate complex challenges. Businesses with a clear sense of purpose can navigate any challenge effectively, but also build stronger customer loyalty. Visit chase.com/coaching for impact for more information. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news of consequence, informed opinion,
and analysis beyond the headlines.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to be in conversation today with Ash Avildsen. He is the writer-director of Queen of the Ring. It is a film that will be available for you to stream starting Friday, May 9th on Prime Video. It is an extraordinary, true-life tale that follows Mildred Burke, the legendary professional wrestler and single mom who defied incredible odds to become the first $1 million female athlete and the longest reigning champion at a time when sports was banned across most of America. Ash, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man. Great intro to the story.
Well, so let's dig into the story a little bit, Queen of the Ring. what inspired you to take this true story and write what folks suspect may be a classic in the making?
I read the book and I just loved it so much. And the fact that it was true and it was like this fairy tale world, and also on a historical side of the fact that it was illegal back then for so long. And she was a hero, but she was still having to be an outlaw. She was a brawler. She had to fight for real in the ring when the promoters and the managers couldn't agree on the finishes. So there was this kind of outlaw carny world of pro wrestling. And then she was a single mom, which is a big thing, especially in America, that they don't get enough credit. And so as someone who grew up with a single mom, the story with her and her son living on the road, it really, really just struck a nerve with me. And I just love the book, man. It was one of the quickest books I ever read. And I just thought that unless somebody makes a movie out of her life, that she's just going to be even more forgotten than she already was. So hopefully, thanks to Queen of the Ring, more people will know Mildred Burke's story and be inspired. And even though the book is a very hard R in the sense of a lot of the things that happen in it, from the negative sides of it, I chose to tell it in a PG-13 way, specifically because I hope that parents and kids together will enjoy it, because it's just an incredible true story.
And what inspired you? I mean, you are, a guy that was really enamored and moved by this woman's story, a woman of a different era. How did that happen? How did someone with your body of work and your identity and sensibilities, how did you even come into orbit with this story?
So it's all thanks to a guy named Jim Ross, who is a WWE Hall of Famer, commentator, but also, talent, discoverer, writer in wrestling. He's just one of the most important wrestling people in probably the past 100 years, is JR. And I called him and said, hey, I want to tell a fictional 80s true, or essentially make the Rocky of like 80s pro wrestling, but have it be fictional. There's something that is uplifting and inspiring. It's kind of a love letter to all these different books that I had read of the time. And that was, for men, that was the golden era, in my opinion, was the 80s. And asked if he'd work on it with me. And he said, yeah, I'd love to. But by the way, do you know who Mildred Burke is? I go, no, who's that? I've never heard of it. He goes, you should check out this book, Queen of the Ring. I think it should be a movie. So I said, okay. So I read the book that weekend. As I said, it was one of the fastest books I ever read. I call him back Monday morning. I go, dude, forget about the 80s fictional thing. We have to tell this woman's story. And it was the story that I was hoping to find or write in a fictional sense for the 80s, of like inspirational, PG-13, triumphant, but also dark and dramatic at times, as the business is and as life is. And when I read it, and I thought, and it was all true, and I thought about how I never heard of her. None of my friends that are diehard pro wrestling or sports fan never heard of her. I go, this is like criminal. How has this woman been forgotten? Not only her, but all of the other women that were part of her era, other than Mae Young, because she went on to be in WWE in her older years. But I was just so touched by it, man. I was just blown away. And the fact that it was just essentially going to be forgotten about, I just dedicated, years of my life to trying to get it made.
Wow. And so in a lot of ways, it almost seems like this story chose you.
In some ways, yeah. I mean, if you want to get into the destiny of it all, I guess, yeah, it was, I was very fortunate that Jim Ross told me about it, because I don't know if that I would have ever learned. I mean, when I guess this is how many years it's been since, getting the book, but she wasn't even in the WWE, Hall of Fame when I first talked to JR about it. She was really off the radar. But yeah, now we got a feature film that takes us through her life, and it seems like a lot of people are liking. So hopefully more and more people find out about it this weekend.
So just sort of generally speaking, what are some of the nuts and bolts that you look for in a story that leads you to a place where you're like, oh, this has to be on the silver screen. You've got to tell this story. You talk about the excitement you had, reading the story of Mildred Burke over the course of a weekend. For all of our authors out there, for all the storytellers out there, what are some of the nuts and bolts that you look for as a writer director to say, you know what, I think this particular story should be a movie?
The first is the main character. If I think that people will care about their journey, and then the second is there a unique element to what the main character is going through that we haven't seen time and time again? And while there's of course moments of all the best sports films that some of them share with the twists and the turns and the ups and the downs of their journey, there was a lot to hers that I had just never ever seen. Even just from pro wrestling, having shoot matches, I never knew that they had those with a public audience. So obviously we know that pro wrestling is scripted, but back then, because there was such a territorial, carny element to all of it, they would have to fight for real in the ring sometimes when they're with a live audience, when they really were trying to hurt each other because they couldn't agree backstage on business elements, specifically with title belts and whatnot. So that alone blew me away. Then to find out that it was illegal for women to get into the ring all over America, with California and New York being the last two states, which you would have never guessed, being the ones to lift the ban. 1965 in California, 1970.
Whoa, really?
1972 in New York. She never got to wrestle in Madison Square Garden because the ban. And to put it into perspective, you're going, wow. So we had Woodstock in 1969, but you still couldn't have two ladies in the ring at the same time in the state of New York until 72. So there was all those elements, and then just the heart of it. I really am. I get drawn to stories that really have just a sense of heart in it, and there's just so much heart in her story between her, the other girl she triumphed with, and also her son, and so it just really touched me, and I just felt like it's a story that should be known and should be told, and just kind of went for it.
In preparation for this interview, I mean, some of the materials that I saw, some of the footage that I saw, particularly in the trailer, I was moved at what felt like range. It felt like you gave the main character not just depth, but range. And so as much as there are plenty of scenes where we see her in the ring, there are scenes where we see her sort of mothering, right? And we see sort of a softer side. Did you see that dimension in her character as you were reading the book? Or is this something that you've just sort of enhanced for the silver screen?
No, it's in the book in the sense of what she has to go through, but also still be a mom and put on this persona publicly, as well as, behind closed doors with the business and the figures, but that she's still, a mom and a daughter trying to find her way. And I was fortunate that Emily Bett Rickards, who plays Mildred, was so committed to the character and the performance, and that's one of the things that's been, the biggest through line with critics and audiences, is that her performance shows, and of course the storytelling shows, that, the different dimensions. Some people think, oh, that person always has everything figured out, or, especially now when we live on social media and we're looking at other people's lives, and we only see it through one lens, through one shot, through one filter. But that's not real life. That's fantasy land. And even though she lived in a fantasy world of professional wrestling, the real life trauma and the real life drama is what really drew me to the story. And you see that in the film of what she has to go through. I don't want to go and spoil too much for those that are listening or watching this that haven't seen it, but some of the dramatic and devastating things she had to go through and to keep to herself, that, and the audience were going, wait, like, go call the cops, like fix this is horrible. But we find out why she chooses she has to keep it a secret, because of certain story elements that I don't want to spoil, but also because she was a public figure and she was a woman, and she was a hero to a lot of people, especially young boys and girls. So there's a lot of juxtaposition there, and Emily nailed it. And I'm very grateful that the audience and critics both have been able to see that, even if some of them aren't praising the film as much as I want them to. Some reviews are great, some reviews are more critical because of the amount of story we're telling in 2 hours. But the one thing that's such a through line is her performance, exactly what you're talking about, to show both the depth and the range of Mildred. So yeah, I can't praise Emily enough. She really just gave us a spectacular performance.
I really think this film, Queen of the Ring, which is available for streaming starting May 9th on Prime Video, I really think it's also a timely film. There's been lots of talk and lots of headlines and reports about masculinity, and some people might even call it sort of a crisis in masculinity. What do you hope for the men and boys that stream this film? What do you hope that they walk away with?
Well, I think every boy, everyone has a mother, either living or dead, and hopefully their mother is in their lives. And this is why we're putting it out, digitally and back in select theaters for Mother's Day weekend. At the heart of it, it really is this great story between a mother and her son, who have all the odds against the world, and it's the two of them in the end. And the beginning of the film starts with the ending scene, and that was all by design because of the heart between Mildred and her baby boy, who becomes her trainer. And I think for boys in general, I want it to be inspirational and to remind them, how important family is. And also for the women, that, something that Mildred did that was unheard of back then is, she could be tough and muscular, but still be sexy. She didn't let society make her choose, because back then, if you had muscles or you were too athletic, you weren't considered sexy. You're considered butch or too masculine. And she broke that barrier down. She loved being tough and being feminine. She was sexy, but she had muscles. And now that's much more in vogue. But you can apply that to anything in society where they try and give you a stereotype and essentially scare you into breaking the mold. And Mildred was just so good at breaking the mold that she was put in. And so, every day there's someone trying to figure that out in their own life, and hopefully, this forgotten tale inspires them.
Well, it is certainly worth watching. It is worth the wait. The wait, turning this book into a film that we all can enjoy just in time for Mother's Day weekend. This is a great film. It's not just good for women and girls, but men and boys as well. And when we come forward, Ash, I want to talk to you about your life before being a writer-director when you were a music promoter. I want to know what the soundtrack to this film might sound like. And also want to hear from you about how your Oscar-winning dad inspired how you put this film together. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with writer-director Ash Avildsen when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to join us on Saturday, June the 14th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as we cut the ribbon on the brand new Enel Woods Park at 8703 South McKinley Avenue. Thanks to a generous donation from Heal the Bay, the park features smart irrigation, stormwater capture systems, and space for local wildlife to thrive. And we've built a walking trail, picnic areas, native landscaping, and quiet spaces for families to gather, relax, and connect. This is part of a much larger effort to expand green spaces across South LA with 3 new parks in the works, a first-of-its-kind community center coming soon, and plans to connect it all through the South LA Greenway. So mark your calendar for Saturday, June 14th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and come celebrate a greener, stronger South LA at NL Woods Park. I'm also pleased to sponsor the Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium, moderated by Tavis Smiley, live on C-SPAN, Wednesday, June the 18th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Just a reminder to sign up right away at the KBLA1580.com website to join me, Mayor Karen Bass, Congresswoman Sidney Cumberland Dove, Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, Dr. Cornel West, former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., the Sierra Club's Ben Jealous, and other Black influencers in the climate and health fields as we continue to amplify the connection between climate and poor health outcomes for our people. Thank you for listening. I'm Councilman Curran Price.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? You may be able to reduce your risk by managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, being physically active, eating healthy, and exercising your mind. To learn more about AD, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention, and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and wasn't it a great conversation there? I really enjoyed it. Queen of the Ring is available on Prime. Run, don't walk, but I guess you don't have to run at all because you can stream it. And so check it out. It is an incredible story that we otherwise would never know, not en masse. And so be sure to check that out. In our remaining minutes, just a reminder that it's not just Pride Month, but here in Washington, D.C., it's also World Pride. It's World Pride. And this year, the fact that it's World Pride, that actually might be why attendance and sponsorship are down. Let me explain. NPR is reporting that Friday marks the closing weekend of World Pride, which is an international festival that's being held right here in Washington, D.C., where I'm broadcasting today. There are many events taking place, including concerts, and there's a human rights conference and DC's annual Pride Parade. But the last time World Pride was in the United States in 2019, it was held in New York City. And attendance was estimated at more than 5 million people. Corporate sponsors, including T-Mobile and L'Oreal and Delta Airlines, JP Morgan Chase, Starbucks, the NBA, and WNBA. But this year, well, festival organizers say that attendance and funding have been affected by the Trump administration's policies and rhetoric towards trans people and diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. At the top of the show, you heard us talk about U.S. Defense Secretary's decision to review and attempt to erase the names of civil rights leaders like Harvey Milk, like John Lewis, like Medgar Evers from Navy vessels. Well, listen, if you want to know how it's going to go, look back at how it started. In his first week in office, President Trump issued executive orders targeting diversity, equity, and inclusion. And one such order, called the termination of illegal DEI and diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility mandates, policies, programs, preferences, and activities in the federal government under whatever name they appear. He also signed an order banning transgender people from the military. Then in February, President Trump announced that he would be taking over the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Remember that? Well, Capital Pride Alliance, the organizers of World Pride DC, they proactively moved World Pride events scheduled to take place at the Kennedy Center to other locations. Additionally, Gay Men's Chorus of Washington, D.C., they were told that their May concert schedule for World Pride with the National Symphony Orchestra would not go on as planned. And that orchestra told sources that the decision was made before the leadership changes because of financial and scheduling reasons. And so while attendance is a little bit down, people are no less crafty. Folks are figuring this stuff out on the dime, and we want to cut some of the organizers of World Pride event. We want to cut them some slack because they're having to organize on their toes. And from some of the events that I've had a chance to attend, they've done a very, very good job in some of the most challenging of circumstances. On Monday, I had a chance to serve on a panel along with the partner of Bayard Rustin, Fox News contributor Richard Fowler, who's no stranger to this show, as well as the co-producer and director Bennett Singer of Brother Outsider, the Bayard Rustin documentary. I had a chance to serve on a panel with them on Monday at the MLK Memorial Library. Looking out in that audience, it's a sign that, you know what, even in the most challenging of times, folks are coming together and this community is being fed. That doesn't happen by itself. Thanks to everybody and anybody who's been a part of that. We'll have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire village helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer, my brother, Andy, and to our producers, Faraji and Art, and each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. Remember, don't panic. Do like the World Pride organizers. Organize. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and you've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
That was declined. FanDuel has banned a bettor who posted a video of himself heckling Black Olympic gold medalist Gabby Thomas at a track event. He claimed the taunts helped his parlay win and calls himself the track and field bully online. Thomas said he